Hello, booktube. I feel like as a new booktuber and a Canadian, and the fact that it's March, I really need to address Canada Reads. So I actually don't have much in the way of Canada Reads merchandise, but I do have this tote bag. See? So, if you don't know, Canada Reads is a CBC thing. It's an epic battle of the books. That how it works is, well, first they'll put out the long list in like January, I think, and then a little later we get the short list, which comes down. So it's 5 books. Each are defended by a celebrity or prominent Canadian. As a matter of fact, our very own Prime Minister Justin Trudeau was a defender. I don't know what year, but like before his political career began. So the public doesn't get any say in who wins, but it becomes a fantastic platform where people are talking about these books. Like, a lot of people follow Canada Reads. It's huge. People love it. So it's pretty much been said that for the authors who get their books on that short list, the 5 books, I mean, their sales just skyrocket. Anyway, okay. So the way that Canada Reads works is it's over 4 days. There are debates and they're aired on CBC. This year's dates March 16th to the 19th. So it's so the first 3 days, the public gets no say in this. So the first 3 days, the defenders they go around the table and they talk about the book, they defend the book, and then at the end of the hour, I guess it is, they vote to eliminate 1 book. And they do that the first 3 days. So on the 4th day, we're left with 2 books. And then you still get to vote after your book is eliminated. And then they go around the table, they discuss just those 2 books, and then they each vote for for which book they think should win. And every year they also do a theme. And the thing about the themes that I find is that they're really broad. Like, almost anything could fit into the theme. So this year's theme is like one book to bring Canada into focus. I can't remember the themes from the last couple of years, but they're always like that. Like, I think one recently was like, one book Canada needs to read now. It's kind of, I don't know. So my main beef with Canada Reads is that so you have fiction and nonfiction pitted against one another, which to me is sort of unfair, because true stories of real hardship, it's hard to beat those. And it's like the same reason why I have trouble reading or reviewing a memoir, because it's hard to separate the book and the writing from somebody's life. You know, like, I can not enjoy the writing style, but who am I to not enjoy what has happened to them in their life? I don't know. So for that reason, I think the last couple of years it's been nonfiction winners and they're important, very important books. So this is the book that won last year. It's called By Chance Alone by Max Eisen, a remarkable true story of courage and survival at Auschwitz. I mean, probably more important to remember these stories now more than ever at this point in history. And this is the book that won the year before. So this would be the 2018 winner, I believe. This is Forgiveness by Mark Sakamoto. Forgiveness, a gift from my grandparents. So this is actually a really interesting book that it's nonfiction. I feel like if it was written as fiction, you could do something really interesting with it. I would like to read it if it was ever written. But basically what this book is about is, so Mark Sakamoto, his grandfather, his white Canadian grandfather, fought in World War II, while his Japanese grandmother was interred during World War II. There was a Canadian interment of Japanese after Pearl Harbor. So it's a really good book. It's good, but I didn't love the writing style. But as you'll come to learn about me, it takes a really, really good nonfiction to really pull me in. Funnily enough, I do not have any hard copies of this year's books, even though I've read or tried to read them all. So I guess I'll tell you as I'm going through who's defending each book. This year's books are, we have Small Game Hunting at the Local Coward Gun Club, which is a novel by Megan Gail Coles. It's defended by YouTuber Alayna Fender. She's got a lot of followers. She's a content creator, I guess is what she's called. The second book is Radicalized by Cory Doctorow, defended by Akil Augustine, and I believe he hosts like a pre-game show for the Toronto Raptors. I could be wrong about that, something like that. Radicalized is actually, it's fiction. We Have Always Been Here by Samra Habib is a memoir, and it's defended by Amanda Brugel, who's an actress. These are all Canadian actors. We have Son of a Trickster, which is a novel. It's defended by another Canadian actress, Kaniehtiio Horn. I hope I pronounced that correctly. And the last book is another memoir. It's From the Ashes by Thistle, and it's defended by country singer George Canyon. So I'm going to just quickly talk about these books. So From the Ashes is just an incredible story of Jesse Thistle's life, how he sort of ignored his Indigenous roots for a long time, and he ended up on the streets. He was homeless. He struggled with addiction, and he has now completely turned his life around. He is an assistant professor and PhD candidate at York University, and this is a really good book. Like, as someone who struggles with memoirs usually, I liked it. It was an incredible read, and an important one too, because of course, there's reconciliation and the whole concept of historical trauma for Indigenous people that, just gets passed from generation to generation. Then we have, Radicalized by Cory Doctorow. That is comprised of 4 novellas that, I'm not going to talk about each one. They're kind of futuristic, they're kind of futuristic, but they're interesting. I actually really enjoyed 2 of the 4. I enjoyed another one, and there was one novella that I just thought was plain weird. But anyway, good. It was interesting. I think I ultimately rated it like 4 stars. Then we have Small Game Hunting at the Local Coward Gun Club, which is set in Newfoundland. It's written by a Newfoundlander, and you would think that I, a Newfoundlander, would like it. I actually tried to read this book in the fall when it was nominated for the Scotiabank Giller Prize, and I think I got to page 50 and I quit. It was just, it's one of those like really gritty, like nothing's glossed over in this book, or at least as far as I got. And I'm okay with that to a point, but it was just too much. So this one was not working for me, and I didn't finish it. And that was in the fall, and I keep saying that I'm going to try and read it before Canada reads, but I've got like a week now, and I just don't see it happening. The other book number 4, We Have Always Been Here, a queer Muslim memoir. So another memoir. I didn't like this one as much as From the Ashes. I think I rated it 3 stars. This is Samra Habib, who's written this. She's had difficulty in her life. She emigrated from Pakistan to Canada when she was very young. She was in an arranged marriage as a teen that she struggled really with that, and ultimately came out as queer. And she wrote this book basically, she's now a spokesperson for those who identify as both queer and Muslim, and that it's possible to be both. And so it's an interesting story. And then Son of a Trickster is a novel. This is another novel with an Indigenous angle, and it's a novel. It's not a memoir like From the Ashes, and it's about a teenager, but I wouldn't call it YA, because this teenager, Jared, he deals with some really adult stuff, and there's basically a magical realism element to it that I don't always like, but I really like this. It was good. And as the title implies, Jared basically finds out that his biological father, if you will, is the the Trickster, which is a character in like indigenous folklore, and that his mother, I believe she has magical. I actually read this one a while ago. The others I've all read recently. Son of a Trickster. I read it a couple of years ago, and I considered rereading it for Canada Reads, but since I couldn't even get myself to read Small Game Hunting at the local Coward Gun Club one time, I didn't feel like I should read this one a second time. I don't know if that makes any sense, but so those are the 5 books. It's happening very soon in Canada on CBC. I'm really looking forward to it. Bye.